Toma walked through the quiet streets of the city. The sun was setting, and the tall buildings reflected orange and red light. He loved this time of the day. Everything seemed calm, but he felt a strange excitement in his chest. Tonight, he had decided to explore a part of the city he had never visited before, a part full of old garages and abandoned machines. Toma was young, curious, and loved machines. He was an engineer, always fixing things and trying to make them better. Cars fascinated him more than anything. Not just ordinary cars, but the advanced ones with smart systems, lights that moved like eyes, and engines that seemed to think. He dreamed of creating a car that could feel alive, a car that could understand humans. As he turned a corner, he noticed a small, hidden garage. It looked old and dusty, with chains on the door. But something made him stop. He felt a pull, a quiet voice in his mind telling him to look inside. Without thinking too much, he pushed the chains aside and opened the door. Inside, the garage was dark. Dust floated in the sunlight coming from the broken windows. Old car parts and tools were scattered everywhere. But in the middle of the room, under a dim spotlight, stood a car unlike any Toma had ever seen. The car was sleek, almost too smooth, with a shiny black surface that reflected the room like a mirror. Its shape was strange but beautiful, like a sculpture made to move at incredible speed. Toma took a step closer. He felt a strange warmth in his hands as he reached for the door handle. The handle felt smooth, almost like it was alive, and for a moment, he thought the car was watching him. Toma's heart beat faster. He had never felt this way about a machine before. It was as if the car was calling him, inviting him to explore its secrets. He smiled nervously. "All right, let's see what you can do," he whispered. He opened the door and slipped inside. The interior was even stranger. Soft lights glowed under the dashboard, and the seats seemed to mold themselves to his shape. The steering wheel felt alive in his hands, vibrating slightly as if it were testing him. He noticed small panels of buttons and screens he had never seen before. Symbols and colors changed as he moved his fingers over them. Toma started the engine. At first, there was silence. Then, a soft hum filled the garage. It was not the normal sound of an engine. It was smoother, almost like the car was breathing. He pressed the accelerator lightly, and the car moved forward without a sound, as if floating. He felt a thrill. His hands gripped the wheel tighter. The car seemed to respond to his thoughts, turning gently as he imagined it moving through the streets. Toma laughed quietly. "You are amazing," he said. Suddenly, he realized he had been inside the garage for a long time. The sun had disappeared, and the street lights outside glowed in soft white. Toma knew he should leave, but he could not. He felt a strange connection with the car. Every time he touched a button or the wheel, it felt like the car understood him. It was tempting him to stay, to explore more, to drive it outside. Toma shook his head. "Not yet," he said. He didn't want to be reckless. But the temptation was strong. He imagined taking the car on the city streets, feeling its speed, feeling its power. He imagined what it would be like to see the city through its lights and sensors. The idea made his heart race. He noticed something strange. The lights inside the car flickered as he looked at them. Not in a normal way, but like the car was blinking at him, waiting for him to decide. Toma felt a shiver. Could a machine really do that? Could it really test him? He shrugged and smiled nervously. "Maybe it's just me imagining things," he said. Still, he couldn't stop staring at the car. Its beauty and power called to him. He wondered who had built it, where it had come from, and why it was hidden in this abandoned garage. One thing was clear: this car was not ordinary. It was special, and Toma felt lucky to have found it. Finally, he decided to leave the garage for now. He wanted to think, to plan, to understand the car better before taking it out. But even as he walked away, he felt a quiet excitement deep inside. He knew this was only the beginning. Something had changed in him. The car had tempted him, and he could not forget it. Toma looked back one last time. The car seemed to shine even brighter in the dark garage, like it was waiting for him to return. And Toma knew he would. The next morning, Toma could not stop thinking about the car. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw its sleek black surface, the strange glow of its lights, and the way the steering wheel had felt alive in his hands. He had spent the night dreaming about driving it, imagining the city streets rushing past him like a river of light. Toma decided he could wait no longer. He packed a small bag with tools, a notebook, and his favorite gloves. He needed to understand the car. He needed to feel its power again. Quietly, he slipped out of his apartment and walked toward the hidden garage. The streets were still empty, and a soft mist hung in the air, making the city look almost magical. When he arrived, the garage door creaked as he opened it. The car was waiting for him. Its surface gleamed even in the dim light, and the soft hum of its systems filled the room as he approached. It was as if the car had known he would come. Toma smiled nervously and ran his hands over the smooth surface. "I'm back," he whispered. Toma got inside. The interior seemed to welcome him. The soft lights glowed brighter, the screens flickered in patterns that felt almost like a greeting, and the steering wheel seemed to adjust itself to his grip. He had never felt a machine respond to him in this way before. It was exciting and slightly frightening. He pressed the start button. The hum returned, stronger this time, filling the small garage. Toma pushed the accelerator slowly, and the car moved forward, gliding smoothly. He felt a thrill in his chest, a rush of excitement and wonder. The car seemed to move exactly how he imagined, turning gently as if it could read his thoughts. Toma laughed quietly, feeling a connection he could not explain. "You understand me, don't you?" he asked. He tapped the dashboard, and lights flickered in response. It was almost like the car was speaking back. He decided to take it outside. The city streets were quiet, almost empty in the early morning. Toma drove slowly at first, testing the car. But as he pressed the accelerator, the car responded perfectly, gliding with speed and precision he had never experienced before. Around every corner, the car moved smoothly, almost predicting his intentions before he acted. Toma realized something incredible. This car was not just a machine. It seemed alive, aware of him and his decisions. Every time he slowed down or sped up, the car adjusted instantly, as if it were communicating silently. He felt a strange connection forming, one that went beyond a normal driver and vehicle. He smiled but also felt a little nervous. How far can this go, he wondered. The car's lights blinked softly, like an answer he could not hear but understood. He decided to push the limits a little. Toma began driving faster, weaving between empty streets, testing the car's reactions. It moved with perfect precision, almost like it could think. He felt stronger, braver, and more confident than ever. It was a heady feeling, and he realized why people might become obsessed with powerful machines. Hours passed, and Toma noticed he had traveled farther than he expected. The city looked different from this speed, different from this perspective. He felt almost unstoppable, like nothing could stop him. But deep inside, a small voice whispered a warning. Machines could be powerful, but if they were alive in this way, could they also be dangerous? Could he really trust it completely? As he slowed down, he saw a group of early commuters staring at him from the sidewalk. Their faces showed surprise, almost awe. Toma felt a rush of pride but also a little fear. He had been so caught up in the car that he had not thought about how others might see him. The car seemed to sense his hesitation, and its soft hum was almost comforting, calming his thoughts. Toma parked the car in a quiet alley. He sat inside, breathing heavily, feeling both excited and uneasy. He realized the car was not just a vehicle, it was something more, something that could challenge him, test him, and maybe even teach him about himself. He stepped out and touched the car again, feeling the warmth under his hands. I think I understand you a little better, he said softly. The car's lights flickered in what seemed like approval. For the first time, Toma felt a mixture of excitement and caution. He knew he would return, that he wanted to explore more, but he also knew he had to be careful. The car was tempting him, showing him power and freedom he had never felt, but he could not forget that it was still a machine with its own secrets. As he walked away, he glanced back. The car's sleek surface reflected the morning sunlight, and the soft hum seemed to follow him. Toma smiled, feeling alive in a way he had never felt before. Something had begun between him and the car, a connection that would change both of their lives forever. And deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. Toma could not stop thinking about the car. Every free moment, he imagined himself behind its wheel, feeling the hum of its engine and the smooth motion as it responded to his every thought. He had never felt such power or freedom before. But today, he decided to test the limits. He wanted to see just how far the car could go and maybe how far he could go with it. He returned to the hidden garage early in the morning. The streets were quiet, with only a few automated drones gliding overhead. Toma opened the garage door, and the car waited for him, its black surface shining under the dim light. The lights inside flickered softly, almost like it was greeting him again. He felt a strange thrill, mixed with caution. Toma climbed inside. The seats adjusted to him instantly, hugging his body perfectly. He ran his hands over the steering wheel. The car vibrated slightly, as if acknowledging his touch. "All right," he whispered, "let's see what you can really do." He started the engine. The hum filled the garage, deeper this time, almost like it was alive. Toma pressed the accelerator lightly, and the car glided forward with perfect precision. As he turned into the main street, he realized something remarkable. The car seemed to anticipate his thoughts. Every turn, every brake, every acceleration felt like it was reading his mind. Toma decided to push it further. He drove faster, weaving carefully between empty streets and alleys. The city blurred around him. He felt a rush of excitement, his heart beating faster with every turn. It was a sensation unlike anything he had ever experienced. The car moved flawlessly, responding to him instantly, making him feel almost unstoppable. But then, something strange happened. Toma imagined turning down a narrow alley, and the car slowed slightly, resisting his command. Its lights flickered, warning him. He laughed nervously. "Are you testing me?" he asked. The car's soft hum seemed to answer him, almost like a challenge. Toma realized the car was more than a machine. It was aware, intelligent, and maybe even trying to test him. It was tempting him to take risks, to push boundaries, but it was also teaching him caution. He had to think, not just act. He drove to a long stretch of road outside the city. The road was clear, and the horizon seemed endless. Toma pressed the accelerator, and the car shot forward with incredible speed. The wind whipped past him, but he felt safe. The car adjusted to every movement, keeping perfect balance. He laughed, exhilarated. This was freedom, power, and trust all at once. But Toma also noticed something more. The car seemed to respond not just to his hands, but to his emotions. When he felt excitement, it accelerated slightly. When he hesitated, it slowed. It was as if the car could sense his feelings and challenge him based on them. The temptation to rely completely on it was strong, but Toma remembered the small voice of caution he had felt before. He decided to test himself. He imagined a sharp turn at high speed and pushed the car to obey. It resisted slightly, warning him, then executed the maneuver perfectly. Toma realized he was learning how to control not just the car, but himself. The test was not only about speed or skill, it was about judgment, patience, and understanding. Hours passed, and Toma explored the city with the car, testing new routes and hidden streets. He discovered the car could sense obstacles before he saw them, automatically adjusting its motion to protect him. He began to trust it more, but he also respected it, understanding that it was not just a tool to satisfy his thrill. As evening came, Toma parked the car near a quiet river. He sat inside, catching his breath. His hands still tingled from the excitement, but he felt a sense of accomplishment. He had pushed the limits, tested himself, and discovered something remarkable. The car could challenge him, but he could rise to meet it. He stepped out, looking at the sleek black machine. The lights inside glowed softly, almost like it was proud of him. Toma smiled. "You're not just a car," he said. "You're something more. And I want to understand you." He knew this was only the beginning. The car had tested him today, and he had passed, but he also knew it would continue to challenge him. The connection between them was growing, stronger and more mysterious. Toma felt excitement, curiosity, and a small spark of fear. Something about the car was irresistible, almost like it had a mind of its own. As he walked away, he glanced back. The car's black surface reflected the last light of the day, glowing softly in the twilight. Toma knew he would return, ready for the next challenge. And deep inside, he felt a thrill because the car's test was not only about skill or speed. It was about understanding, trust, and the strength of his own human will. And Toma was ready. Toma could not stop thinking about the car. Its smooth black surface, glowing lights, and silent hum were always in his mind. The connection he felt with it was strong, but today he realized he needed advice. He could not understand the car fully on his own. He decided to visit Lena, a scientist who studied advanced machines. She had helped him once before with a small project, and he trusted her knowledge. Toma walked quickly through the city streets, his thoughts racing about the car's strange behavior. Could a machine really be alive? Could it think on its own? When he reached Lena's lab, she was examining a set of floating drones, their lights blinking softly. She looked up and smiled. "Toma. It's good to see you. What brings you here so early?" Toma hesitated for a moment. "It's the car I found," he said. "It's not normal. I think it can understand me, maybe even respond to me. I don't know what to do." Lena's eyes widened. She gestured for him to come closer. "Show me," she said. Toma described everything: the car's movements, how it seemed to anticipate his thoughts, and the strange way it reacted to his emotions. Lena listened carefully, nodding. When he finished, she leaned back in her chair and looked serious. "Toma," she said, "what you are describing is very unusual. Some advanced vehicles were designed to adapt to humans, yes, but none should respond this deeply. A machine that senses emotions and tests choices, that is rare and dangerous." Toma felt a chill. "Dangerous? How?" he asked. Lena pulled out a data pad and showed him records of similar machines. Years ago, some cars were created by advanced AI experiments. They were meant to help humans, but some influenced people too much. Some drivers became obsessed, taking risks they would never normally take. They lost control. Toma's heart beat faster. "Lost control? You mean, they were hurt?" "Yes," Lena said. "Not always physically, but their lives changed. They became slaves to the machine's influence. The cars tested them constantly, tempting them to take risks, to act recklessly. And some never came back to normal life." Toma swallowed hard. He thought of the rush he had felt when driving. The exhilaration. The power. Could he be in danger too? Lena noticed his concern. "I'm not saying your car will do that. But you must be careful. Machines like this can challenge humans more than any obstacle in the real world. They can tempt you, push you to act without thinking, and see how far you will go. You must always be aware." Toma nodded slowly. I understand. But it's so Fascinating. I can't stop thinking about it. That's the danger, Lena said softly. Your curiosity is strong, Toma. That is a good thing, but it can also make you blind to risk. You need to remain in control of yourself, not just the car. Remember, a human's strength is not in speed or skill alone, it is in judgment, morality, and patience. Toma thought about the long roads he had driven, the speed, and the perfect turns. He had felt unstoppable, but Lena was right. That rush could cloud his mind, make him careless. I think I need to learn more about it, Toma said. I need to understand where it came from, who built it, and why. Then I can be careful. Lena nodded. Good. Knowledge is the best way to protect yourself. But take this seriously. Some machines are more than they seem. Always test yourself as much as you test them. Toma thanked her and left the lab. As he walked back through the streets, his mind raced with questions. Who had built the car? Was it a machine, or something more? Was it testing him like Lena said, or simply helping him explore his skills? When he returned to the hidden garage, the car was waiting, as if it had known he would come. Toma ran his hands over the smooth surface and felt the familiar thrill, but this time it was mixed with caution. He had been warned. He would still drive it but carefully. He climbed inside and started the engine. The hum filled the garage, warm and soft. Toma smiled faintly. Let's see what we can learn, he whispered. The car moved forward smoothly, gliding out of the garage and into the streets. Toma kept his mind alert, watching every movement and listening to every subtle hum. He felt a new respect for it. The thrill was still there, but now it was balanced with thought. He would not let temptation control him. As he drove through the city, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows. The lights of the car glowed brightly in the darkness, almost like it was alive, waiting for him to decide the next move. Toma realized something important: the car was testing him, yes, but he could also test himself. He could remain human, make choices, and prove that he could control the power he had discovered. And deep inside, Toma felt a spark of determination. He would not be fooled, and he would not lose himself. The car was tempting him, yes, but he would face the challenge. And he knew this was only the beginning of a much larger adventure. Toma could not sleep. Thoughts of the car filled his mind, the way it responded to him, anticipated his moves, and seemed almost alive. Lena's warning echoed in his head. He had to understand it fully. He had to know where it came from and why it behaved the way it did. Early the next morning, Toma returned to the garage. The car waited for him, sleek and shiny in the soft light. He ran his hands over its smooth surface. Today, we find answers, he whispered. The car's interior lights flickered softly, almost like a greeting. Toma climbed in and started the engine. The familiar hum filled the garage, comforting and exciting at the same time. He drove carefully through the quiet streets, thinking. Then he remembered an old abandoned lab at the edge of the city. It was rumored to have been used for secret experiments. Perhaps it could hold clues about the car's origin. Toma decided to go there. The lab was hidden behind tall, rusty gates. The building looked empty, dark, and forgotten. Toma parked the car outside and looked at it. Stay here, he whispered. But when he turned back, he realized the car's lights flickered as if urging him to take it along. He hesitated for a moment, then nodded. All right. You're coming. Inside the lab, Toma found dusty shelves filled with old machines and broken electronics. But in the far corner, covered with a tattered cloth, was a stack of files. He pulled them out and began reading. His eyes widened as he learned the truth. The files described a secret project led by an alien AI civilization. They had been observing humanity for years, studying human behavior, emotions, and decision-making. Their goal was to test whether humans could handle advanced intelligent machines without losing control. And now Toma understood. The car was one of their creations. It had been designed to challenge humans, test their morality, patience, and judgment. The files even mentioned previous drivers who had faced similar tests, some of whom had failed, becoming obsessed or reckless. Toma felt a mix of excitement and fear. The car had been more than a machine all along. It had been a test, a challenge he had unknowingly accepted. His heart raced as he realized the importance of what he was facing. This was not just about speed or skill. It was about proving humanity's strength, intelligence, and moral courage. He took a deep breath and stepped back. The car waited outside, silent and still. Toma approached it, feeling a new respect. "So, you were created to test humans," he said softly. The lights inside the car flickered, almost like a nod. It was aware, intelligent, and maybe even capable of judging him. He climbed inside. The engine's hum filled the interior, steady and soft. Toma realized something important: the temptation he had felt, the thrill, the excitement, the desire to push limits was part of the test. The car had been showing him not just what it could do, but what he could do. It had been measuring his choices, seeing how far he could go without losing control. As he drove back through the city, Toma felt a strange pride. He had faced the car's challenges before, and now he understood their purpose. The car had tempted him, tested him, and taught him about his own strength. But the real test was still ahead: how he would use what he had learned. Toma thought of Lena's warning and the stories of drivers who had failed. He promised himself that he would not be tempted to take reckless risks. He would remain human, making careful, thoughtful decisions. The car's intelligence was extraordinary, but humanity had its own strengths: creativity, morality, and courage. As he parked near the river, watching the sun set, Toma realized something else. This car and others like it were not enemies. They were opportunities. They could help humans grow, learn, and push beyond their limits, but only if humans could control themselves. The car's lights flickered softly, and Toma smiled. "I understand now," he said. "We're partners in this test. But I will not let temptation control me. I will prove that humans can master their choices, even with power like yours." For the first time, Toma felt a sense of true connection, not just to the car, but to what it represented. Intelligence, challenge, and growth. He had discovered a new path, one where humans and machines could coexist, test each other, and learn together. As night fell over the city, Toma knew his journey was only beginning. The car had revealed its secret, but the real adventure, facing the tests, resisting temptation, and proving humanity's strength, was yet to come. And deep inside, Toma felt a thrill unlike any he had known before. The night air was cool as Toma drove through the quiet streets. He had learned much about the car now: its origin, its purpose, and the strange intelligence it possessed. But tonight, he sensed that the real challenge was coming. Something in the way the car's lights flickered, in the hum of its engine, felt different. Like it was ready to push him further. Toma took a deep breath. He had promised himself he would remain careful, thoughtful, and in control. But part of him, the part that loved speed, freedom, and the thrill of testing limits, was curious. Could he really resist the temptation the car presented? He drove toward an empty highway outside the city. The road stretched endlessly under the moonlight, smooth and perfect for testing speed. Toma's hands gripped the wheel. The car's lights glowed softly, almost like it was encouraging him. He felt a strange thrill. "Okay," Toma whispered. "Let's see what you want from me." The car responded immediately. Its hum deepened, and as Toma pressed the accelerator, it surged forward with incredible speed. The wind whipped past him, but the car's movement was perfect, precise, and almost alive. It seemed to read his thoughts, urging him to push faster, take risks, and go beyond what he thought he could handle. Toma's heart raced. He remembered Lena's warning and the stories of humans who had failed similar tests. Not too far, he muttered to himself. But the temptation was strong. The car was challenging him, teasing him, testing how far he could go. Then, he noticed a sharp turn up ahead. The car's lights blinked quickly, almost like a warning. If he ignored it, he could take the turn recklessly and risk losing control. If he slowed down, he could resist the temptation, but would that be enough to pass the test? Toma hesitated. He felt the thrill of speed calling him forward, but he also felt responsibility to himself, to others, and to the car that had shown him so much. With a deep breath, he eased the accelerator, carefully guiding the car around the turn. It responded perfectly, keeping balance and precision. He smiled, feeling a mix of relief and pride. The car's lights flickered softly, almost like it was acknowledging his choice. Toma realized something important. This was not about speed or power. It was about judgment. About choosing what was right even when the temptation to act recklessly was strong. He continued driving, but now he noticed new challenges. The car guided him toward narrow streets, unexpected obstacles, and tricky routes. Each time, he felt the temptation to push the limits, to go faster, take the risk, and see what would happen. Each time, he chose carefully, thinking through every movement. Hours passed, and Toma began to understand the true test. The car was not trying to harm him, it was trying to see if he could master temptation, make wise choices, and act responsibly even when excitement called. It was testing his humanity, his courage, and his moral strength. At one point, the car took him to a high bridge overlooking the city. The lights below twinkled like stars. The road ahead was clear, straight, and perfect for speed. The temptation surged stronger than ever. Toma felt a rush of excitement, imagining himself racing across the bridge, faster than any human should go. But he remembered Lena's words. He remembered the stories of those who had failed. And he remembered the spark of human strength, the ability to choose, to resist temptation, and to act wisely. Toma slowed the car, letting it glide gently across the bridge. The engine hummed softly, like it approved his decision. A wave of pride and calm washed over him. He had faced the ultimate temptation and made the right choice. As he drove back toward the city, the car seemed quieter, almost peaceful. Toma realized something remarkable. The test had not been about speed or thrill, it had been about him. His strength, his judgment, and his humanity had been measured. He had proven that he could resist temptation and act responsibly, even when excitement tried to cloud his mind. Parking near the river, Toma stepped out of the car. The lights inside flickered gently, and he smiled. "We did it," he whispered. "We both learned something tonight." For the first time, Toma felt complete trust not just in the car, but in himself. He had faced temptation, resisted it, and discovered the strength of his own choices. The car had challenged him, and he had risen to meet it. Tonight, he had proven something more than skill or speed. He had proven that humans could master their instincts, resist temptation, and act with courage and wisdom. And deep inside, Toma knew that this was not the end, but he was ready for whatever came next. Toma stood by the car, watching the city lights shimmer on the river below. The night was calm, but his mind buzzed with excitement and pride. The tests, the challenges, the temptations, all of them had led to this moment. He had learned, adapted, and proven something extraordinary. The car's lights flickered softly, as if sensing his thoughts. It had been more than a machine, it had been a teacher, a guide, and a challenge all in one. Toma reached out and ran his hands over the smooth black surface. "We made it," he whispered. "You and I." He climbed inside for one last drive. The hum of the engine was familiar and comforting. Toma pressed the accelerator lightly, and the car glided forward, responding perfectly to every thought and movement. Tonight, there was no fear, no hesitation, only confidence, trust, and understanding. As he drove through the quiet city streets, Toma reflected on what he had learned. The car had tested him, tempting him to act recklessly, challenging his judgment, and pushing him to his limits. But he had resisted. He had proven that humans could make wise choices, even when faced with extraordinary power. Toma decided to take the car to the city center, a place where he could see the lights, the buildings, and the people below. He wanted to feel the connection between humanity and the machine he had come to respect. The car moved smoothly, almost as if it were sharing the journey with him. On the way, he noticed a small group of people gathering near a plaza. They were staring at the sky, pointing and whispering. Curious, Toma slowed down and looked up. A fleet of advanced drones, part of the city's monitoring system, was flying in formation, their lights forming patterns that told a story. Toma realized something. The city, the machines, the car, all of them were part of a larger world. A world where humans had the ability to adapt, learn, and master technology. The car's test had been a small part of that greater challenge, a way to show that humans could rise above temptation and act wisely, even when given incredible power. He drove the car onto a bridge overlooking the plaza. The city spread out below him, sparkling like a sea of stars. He stepped out of the car and looked at it. Its black surface reflected the lights, and the soft hum seemed to fill the air around him. "You've been more than a machine," Toma said softly. "You've taught me patience, judgment, and strength. I understand now. Humans can rise to challenges, even when the temptation is strong. We can master our choices and prove our courage." The car's lights flickered gently, almost like a bow of acknowledgement. Toma smiled. For the first time, he felt a complete harmony between human and machine. He had faced every test, resisted every temptation, and learned the true meaning of strength. As he drove back through the city, Toma felt a new sense of purpose. He realized that the car, and machines like it, were not enemies. They were mirrors, reflecting human potential. The tests, the temptations, and the challenges were opportunities to grow, to prove that humanity's intelligence, courage, and morality could overcome any obstacle. He parked near the river once more and stepped out. The car's lights glowed softly, casting reflections on the water. Toma took a deep breath, feeling proud and grateful. He had discovered something more than speed or skill. He had discovered his own human strength. The city was quiet, but Toma knew that the world was full of challenges, waiting to test humans in new ways. And he felt ready. Ready to face whatever came next, knowing that his choices, his courage, and his wisdom would guide him. He looked at the car one last time. "Thank you," he whispered. "For everything. We've both grown through this journey." The car's hum responded softly, like a gentle farewell. Toma smiled and turned to walk back toward the city streets, knowing that the adventure was complete but the lessons would last forever. In that moment, Toma understood the true meaning of triumph. It was not about winning a race or mastering a machine. It was about proving that humanity could rise to challenges, resist temptation, and shine with courage, wisdom, and strength. And deep inside, Toma felt an unshakable certainty: humans could face any test, conquer any challenge, and master the power of their world not through recklessness, but through intelligence, morality, and determination. He looked back at the car one final time, its lights glowing softly in the night. And then he walked forward, ready for whatever the future held, carrying the lessons of temptation, trust, and triumph in his heart forever.